Welcome to the guide, Exile. In this guide, we are going to look at some of the new mechanics and reworks that have been applied to the endgame mapping system in Path of Exile, known as the Atlas. In my previous Atlas and mapping video, we took a look at the mapping system in general, how to obtain maps, how to roll maps, what the Atlas is, and how to advance through the Atlas and map tiers. All of the information from that guide is still applicable in terms of the base mechanics of the Atlas and mapping system. So in this guide, I will not be discussing how those mechanics work. However, with the recent 3.1 update, War for the Atlas, there are now some new mechanics that have been added, along with some adjustments to obtaining Shaper's Orbs and pack size rewards for map modifiers. These are the mechanics I will be covering in this guide. To start out, let's begin with what War for the Atlas is all about. Emerging from the depths of the twisted voids of the mapping system is the Elder. The Elder is an ancient being that twists and disturbs the minds of those who venture into his realm. During the Shaper's ventures into maps, he was challenged by the Elder for control of the Atlas, and has now brought the war between them. With this war, we can influence the direction of it, either helping the Shaper fight back the Elder or assisting the Elder in taking out the Shaper, by completing influenced maps on the Atlas. When you first begin the Atlas, you will initially only have a few map bases that will have Shaper influence on them, whether or not you have them unlocked. This is indicated by the star-filled voids behind the maps on the Atlas. Once you have completed the first part of Zana's quest to obtain a memory fragment, you will then trigger the Elder into the Atlas. This quest will be discussed further in the next section. At this point, you will now begin to see maps with Elder influence. This is indicated by the dark swirling tentacles behind the maps. Whilst in these maps, you can tell which influence is taking hold by looking at the ground. Shaper-influenced maps will have broken parts of the ground that gaze into the void, whilst Elder maps will have tentacles and malignant growths all over the ground. These influences will cause extra mechanics and monsters to be added to the map. The Shaper can add mechanics such as tracking vortex balls as seen in his endgame encounter, or the addition of void-shaped monsters. The Elder can add mechanics such as tentacle monsters that drain all the color from around them and slow players, or void portals that spawn swarms of monsters until they are destroyed. Ultimately, these influenced maps alone can add a lot of monster density. At the end of a Shaper-influenced map, the Shaper can sometimes appear and take over the boss, freezing time and infusing it with new powers, or summon a shaped void boss that you must defeat. Now, on top of all of these mechanics and monsters, there are also special items that can drop as well. These items are known as Elder and Shaper items, denoted by an icon on their nameplate and animated backgrounds. Elder items have a blue cross icon on their nameplate and a moving tentacle background, whilst Shaper items have a red star icon on their nameplate and a star-filled void background. These will drop in their respective influenced maps, so you will only get Shaper's items in Shaper-influenced maps, and Elder items in Elder-influenced maps, and neither in non-influenced maps. Ultimately, Elder and Shaper items are special variants of regular base items, and are fairly rare drops, due to the fact that they can roll these special affixes that cannot be rolled on basic rare items. These will always drop rare and will be guaranteed to have at least one of the special Elder or Shaper modifiers on them. For example, you can get built-in high-level gems into an item, expanding it into a 5 or 6 link where it would only be a 4. Or you can get a shield that applies block chance to spells and recovers a percentage of life on block. Like all other item bases, you can scour these to a normal rarity and craft them with all the applicable currencies without losing the Shaper or Elder base. This means you can get an average rolled item as a drop and recraft it into something absolutely godly. Note that Elder items have an affinity to attack-based modifiers, while Shaper items have an affinity to spell-based modifiers. Now, to remove or move the influences around your Atlas, you simply have to complete a map with an influence on it. This means you must simply kill the boss of said influenced map. Influences can also move on their own randomly after completing other maps on the Atlas, without completing the map that they reside on. So say for example that you have a Shaper-influenced map that is all by itself and not surrounded by an Elder influence. Completing this map will remove the influence and move it to another random map on the Atlas. However, if you complete a Shaper-influenced map that is bordered by an Elder-influenced map, this will cause the Elder to influence the Shaper-influenced map that you had just completed, expanding his control. This works in the other way around, where in completing a Elder-influenced map bordered by a Shaper-influenced map will cause the Shaper influence to take over that Elder-influenced map. This allows you to effectively spread which influence you wish to encounter in your maps, and it is important to manipulate if you wish to encounter the Elder. Now, before you can encounter the Elder or even see his influence on the Atlas, you must first complete Tier 6 plus Shaper-influenced maps. This will eventually cause the Elder and Shaper to be triggered on the boss, bringing him into the Atlas. This will also provide you with your first memory fragment for which you can turn into Zana for your Tier 1 Shaper's Orb and begin the quest chain for obtaining the rest of the Shaper's Orbs. I will discuss the Shaper Orbs further in the next section. Now that the Elder influence is on the map, you can partake in moving his influence around by completing Shaper influenced maps that surround the Elder influence. It is important to note that if you complete an Elder map, it will remove the Elder's influence just like with Shaper. Elder's influence must also be connected by the trace lines on the Atlas. This means if you break a line by removing the Elder influenced map in the middle of a line, the Elder influence at the end of the line from the original origin body will be removed. So for example, say that we have the Elder influence on an Arachnid Tome, Vol Pyramid, and Tribunal map bases. If we are to complete the Vol Pyramid map, we will then lose the Elder influence on both the Vol Pyramid and Tribunal maps. This can be very useful if you want to quickly move the Elder's influence around. Now once you get a large enough body of Elder influenced maps, in my experience more than 12, you will begin to see that some of the new map bases have special icons on them. These indicate the boss of the map has been replaced with an Elder Guardian or the Elder himself. Mousing over these icons will indicate which Guardian is in that map. These encounters can spawn on any map base and are one level above the map zone and are not affected by map mods. So making use of the aforementioned mechanics to move the Elder influence around before you get enough maps within the influenced body can let you spawn the Elder in higher tier or lower tier maps. All of the Elder Guardians and Elder will spawn on these map bases within the Elder influenced area together at the same time. You will need to defeat all of the Elder Guardians before you can encounter the Elder. So once you get to the final room of these maps, the map boss will be consumed by the Elder, and a portal to the respective Guardian's realm or Elder's realm will be opened. I will not be discussing the mechanics of all of these fights within the guide, but I will have guides for them similar to my Guardians and Shapers guides. All in all, these are some very interesting and accessible encounters with many familiar and new mechanics, along with some very powerful rewards if you are lucky. Now once you have defeated the Elder, his influence will be removed from the Atlas. In order to bring him back, you must go about completing Shaper-influenced maps again, as discussed in the beginning of this section. His return will be random. With the 3.1 update, map modifiers have been reworked such that all modifiers provide some percentage of pack size. This is great for our currency investments into rolling maps, and brings up reward for running some of the deadlier mods. So in short, you will now only have to roll your maps such that you can run them, and you will always have pack size. Obtaining Shaper's Orbs has become quite a bit different in comparison to how they were acquired previously. We will no longer be gaining them from specific maps, but rather by manipulating the Elder's influence and completing the quest chain for Zana, wherein we collect memory fragments. As mentioned previously, you will get your first memory fragment after you trigger the Elder in a Tier 6 plus Shaper influenced map. You can then turn the memory fragment into Zana for your Tier 1 Shaper's Orb. After this, you will begin to see Elder influenced areas as talked about previously. You will want to then spread these influenced areas into higher tier maps. Once you have this done, you will begin to see maps outlined with a blue circle within the Elder's influence. These are the maps that will drop further memory fragments upon completing them. The bonus completion is not required for the fragment to drop. There are a total of 15 memory fragments, with various amounts for each tier of Shaper's Orb. It is important to note that regardless of the tier of map that you complete on the Atlas, you will only get the memory fragment in the quest line, resulting in the next tier of Shaper's Orb. So if you are completing a Tier 11 Shaper's Fragment map, and you are only on the second stage of the quest, you will receive memory fragment number 2, and consequently a Tier 2 Shaper's Orb, rather than a Tier 6 Shaper's Orb as it was in the old system. So be aware of this when and if you are completing higher tier Shaper Orb maps. Well, Exile, I hope that this guide was able to convey all of the new mechanics in the Atlas in a clear and concise manner. It is certainly a tough thing to wrap your head around at first, but in the end it brings a whole new life and dynamic to the Atlas. I aim to have more in-depth guides for the new encounters once I have had more time to investigate them fully. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, Exile.